How did I get, my head was not brushing the ceiling before. Things we want to find out in this video. Is this bigger, longer, wider 2 Series any good? Does the all-wheel drive suck the fun out of it? Does the automatic suck the fun out of it? Should you upgrade if you have the last gen 2 Series coupe?
And how does this line up with an M2, I would say?
That as well. And most importantly, is it $58,000 worth of performance? Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by our friends at Carl Friedrich, and in the past you've heard me talk about them a whole bunch. Typically, I'm talking about their awesome leather products designed to last a lifetime, handmade Italian vachetta leather, but today it's all about the hard-sided luggage. They've got the Carry-On and the Carry-On Pro, which you've heard me talk about in the past, and now the Check-In. Light, strong, rigid polycarbonate shell, zipperless design with these locking clasps. I love this stuff. I just took my Carry-On to the Bridgestone Winter Driving School. I've been carrying it on all my recent travels, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if they made a bigger one? Well, now they do. I got a matching set, and so can you. If you hit the link in the description, you can mix and match the Carry-On, Carry-On Pro with the external laptop pocket, and now the Check-In for a nice little discount. So check out Carl Friedrich in the description below and enjoy this video. Hey folks, beautiful. It's getting warm out here today. Los Angeles in February. It reminds me why we came to California to film cars, honestly, because we can do it in sweatshirts and sunshine. Today we're in the BMW M240i X-Drive automatic.
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive. It's an all-new car.
Yeah.
And BMW is not making it easier on people because there's two different 2 Series.
Yes, there is.
There's this 2 Series, which is a rear-based all-wheel drive coupe. And
then there is the 2 Series Grand Coupe.
Yeah.
Which is a 4-door, like a sedan, not a coupe, and is front-wheel drive like a not BMW.
It's BMW's Corolla. It's if you chopped the front and rear fascias off that one and just looked at in between the headlight, you have a Corolla.
But can't you understand why it's named the same as this car? Doesn't that just make sense?
It's so logical. It's so logical. So the things we want to find out in this video are this bigger, longer, wider 2 Series? Is this bigger, longer, wider 2 Series any good? Does the all-wheel drive suck the fun out of it? Does the automatic suck the fun out of it? Should you upgrade if you have the last gen 2 Series coupe? Because that car, the 235i and 240i, is one of the cars we get asked about the most.
Yeah. So
is this new one better than that one?
And how does this line up with an M2, I would say? That
as well. And most importantly, is it $58,000 worth of performance? Because that's how much it costs. Under the hood, you get a 3-liter turbocharged 6-cylinder engine, and only mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission.
Correct.
And only mated to all-wheel drive so far, as of February 2022.
Correct. What I read is that you will not be able to get a manual in the M240i again.
Right.
You're going to have to probably get an M2.
Yeah. So it makes 382 horsepower at 6,500. It makes 369 pound-feet at 1,800, which is about what the base M2 made before.
Yeah.
The competition and CS make a little more.
And it's only 1 pound-foot more torque than the last 240, but it's like 50 more horsepower.
Yeah, it's a bunch. Compared in size, because sitting in this car, I was like, wow, it really feels bigger than the last 2 Series, but I was actually kind of wrong. Exterior dimensions, it's 3 inches longer than the last 2 Series, the M2. It's actually 0.6 inches narrower than the last M2. It has a 2-inch longer wheelbase than the last M2, but the passenger volume is exactly the same. The trunk volume is exactly the same, and the passenger volume is actually smaller. It has a -4 cubic feet of passenger volume compared to the last M2.
Well, you lose a lot. I just sat in the back seat, and I have to sit like this. So I'm 5'10", and I'm about 3 inches too tall because of the
sunroof.
The sunroof,
Where the sunroof has to go.
Yeah.
So it's actually not any bigger than the last M2, except really in length and wheelbase. Yeah.
Well, and the track width, though. The track width now, the front track width is the same as the M2,
yes.
and the rear is like this close.
Right. It is 316 pounds heavier than the last M2.
Yes.
And that's mainly because it's an automatic and all-wheel drive.
Right.
Right. It has 14.5-inch front brakes, 13.5-inch rear brakes, 245/19 rear tires, 235/19 front tires. That's a Michelin PS4S. 0 to 60 in 3.6, quarter mile in 12.1 at 114, which is
so fast.
Which is quick. They've shortened the ratios in gears 1 through 3, and they've added launch control. So those are the stats. And Zach, let's go down the hill first. This road is delightful and is a perfect M240i road. You have obviously adaptive suspension and a whole suite of drive modes. And Zach will be in Sport.
I was going to go to Sport. Are you going to do individual?
Nah.
How do I get to?
There's Sport, individual. You can configure your individual, obviously.
I'll just go Sport Plus.
Sport Plus.
Sport Plus.
Did you hit? Extra dynamic.
Super extra dynamic.
Extra dynamic. There is no question it's fast.
It is very fast. Very fast.
To do a 0 to 60 in the middle threes and a quarter mile in 12.1 for under $60,000 is pretty extraordinary stuff.
How just a few years ago that would be kind of supercar speeds.
Yeah.
And here we are. This is, your middling 2 Series coupe, middle performance car, and it's actually quicker to 60 and quicker to the quarter mile than the M2 because of all-wheel drive, of course, but it's pretty cool that it can make up, all the extra weight it has in the front.
Yes.
The handling, it sticks. It corners pretty flat. We're in Sport Plus. We drove up here in comfort, which I think we both have agreed the ride is really nice in this car.
It's the ride and comfort on the freeway is super good, but I'm actually pretty impressed. This road is not terrible quality, but I'm not getting the bounciness.
Yeah.
When we put some other cars into Sport Plus, you get kind of a bounciness where there's extra bounces, right?
Yes.
This one, even though it gets firmer on Sport Plus, every bump is still one down and one up, which I really like.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, well, 2 things. The steering in this setting is light and kind of numb. It's pretty numb. And on the way up here, I felt that when you get about 11 degrees of angle in, it suddenly gets heavier. It's like a shelf. And it doesn't feel like it's because of tire load. And the brakes don't seem like they're up to the task.
Really?
They just don't have the haul down force like this is. That was deep in the pedal.
Really?
Yeah, and you can tell that we were still.
Yeah.
It's
not really like, if you were going to a track day, pads and fluid would probably do it, but it's not impressive.
No, and it's definitely not equal with the power and the thrust of the engine.
This thing is really fast.
Yeah.
Like, the power and that adjustment of like extra turn in right there was very, very good.
Yeah, with no issues.
And right there, that was a pretty stiff bump under braking, and it didn't shatter or anything. It maintained a contact patch. Like, this car is very good at maintaining its contact patch under changing conditions.
Yeah.
That it's really good at.
And it does not feel like an all-wheel drive car. It does, I don't feel like, I'm not pushing it, so I don't feel a lot of understeer or anything, but it feels like the weight is very even.
Well, let me try, Zach. I'll configure my individual. So I'll have damping, comfort, steering, sport, engine, sport plus, transmission, sport plus. The seat doesn't go down anymore, but my head wasn't brushing the ceiling before, and now it is. What happened? What's going on here? How have we ended up where my head is brushing the ceiling and it wasn't before?
Were you slouched more?
My seat doesn't go down more. That's the bottom. What the hell?
I don't know. You're remembering a different car?
I
I don't know.
Strange. It feels like it has less headroom than it did before.
Open the sunroof for your head?
I don't know. I'm confused.
You should try the new launch control.
We should. Where's the traction control button? I forget. Do I need it? Can I just launch without it?
Let's just try.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, I felt it in my stomach.
Undramatic, but effective.
Yeah.
As opposed to the GTI we did yesterday, which was very dramatic and ineffective.
Yes, it basically revved itself in neutral for like 3 seconds and then slowly pulled away.
Oh, you aren't kidding about the brakes. For something with this much speed, the brakes are very soft.
Yeah, they just, they feel like you threw out a very small anchor and you're in a very big boat.
Yeah. Like jumping out of a plane with a bit small of a parachute. Now let's see how it does over negative G dive.
Oh boy.
Really good.
Pretty good.
Really good, yeah. No bottoming out there on the bump stops. For a torque converter, the shift response is excellent.
Yeah, they sped it up on this generation.
Yeah.
And it mimics a DCT pretty well. I mean, the ZF8 speed has been good, and it just keeps getting better and better.
The steering, yeah, it doesn't, the weight is not related to the load on the tire. Dan Edmonds wrote that the weight is related more to the steering angle, and I agree with him there.
But it
also feels like the gas pedal is completely disconnected from the engine. Like, I'm using a lot of full throttle, so it doesn't matter, but it's not necessarily like linear.
It's not tuned with the sound and
Right.
the thrust.
It feels like it's really drive-by-wiry.
Yeah, because the goal lately with drive-by-wire has been to trick you into thinking
grip.
it's not there, and now you don't want to notice that you're driving with just a little rheostat.
The grip levels are very good. Michelin PS4S is the right choice here, and it's predictable. It's not understeery. It's got a really good balance right when you start to get tire squeal. God, I love this road.
I don't have adjustable bolsters on this side.
Slight hint of understeer there, but it feels like it has good weight distribution front to rear, actually. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it makes noise, but it sticks.
And it's a rear bias system as well.
Yeah. I really like how well it's able to maintain a contact patch, even no matter if it's positive or negative camber or bumpy road. Like, that's really good, and it's actually easy to micro adjust once the tires get squealy. I like that.
The suspension calibration seems pretty on point.
Yeah, and being in the comfort suspension mode right there, it soaked up the bumps, but it didn't seem to negatively affect the handling.
No, I actually forgot you were in comfort.
Yeah,
It
that's
stayed
comfort
pretty
shop.
flat and agile. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So things that are very good about this car: the ride quality in any mode is good.
Yeah.
The engine certainly is good. The suspension keeps the tires on the road, which is very good.
Nice. It's quiet on the highway.
For an automatic, it shifts well. Things that are not so good: brakes could use more.
Yeah, and the
brakes.
shape of it, I think the dark color hides the kind of bulbous design they have here. I'm not sure how it would look in a lighter white or something like that.
As a performance comparison, Car and Driver's Lightning Lap, they had one of these. It might have even been this very car, which is why the brakes are what they are. It was 3 seconds faster around VIR than the Acura TLX Type S. It was 1 second faster around VIR than the IS 500 Performance or the Golf R. It was 2 seconds slower than the Civic Type R Limited Edition, and 10 seconds slower than the BMW M4. So I would say 6 of those 10 seconds come from the brakes. Like, you're braking way later in the M4 than you are in this.
Yeah, and that also has a wider tire, so your grip level is going to be higher.
And that was the all-wheel drive.
And that is, what, 450 horsepower?
It has more power as well, yeah.
So that's big.
So, for $58,000, is this a good value? I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's a good balance of comfort, luxury features, performance, you know, and all that stuff for 58
It's a pretty
grand.
good Leatherman do everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really comfortable, and it's pretty nice looking inside. I mean, this is familiar with anybody who's seen a BMW. But
Right.
then when you start driving up this twisty road, like, it doesn't feel like you've sacrificed a lot other than the little things we've talked about.
If you had the last one, should you upgrade to this one?
I don't know. I never drove the last one. I can't
So
say.
the last one, to me, I didn't like the all-wheel drive one. I liked the rear-wheel drive one. The all-wheel drive one was kind of clunky, especially at the limit. This seems like a pretty significant improvement of the all-wheel drive system, which is evidenced by the fact that the M3 is now all-wheel drive,
Right.
and it wasn't back then.
This surely gets a little bit of the R&D from that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So if you liked a lot about the last one, but like me, you weren't that into the all-wheel drive, and you really want an all-wheel drive 2 Series, I would say consider this. If you had a last generation M2 or M2 Competition or M2 CS, I would say hold on to it.
Well, the CS has the good adaptive
The
suspension,
CS is
right?
different,
Which
yeah.
this gets. So this is like, this probably rides better and has more duality than the regular M2 or even the Comp.
Yeah, but I wouldn't kick a CS out of bed for this.
Oh, of
I'd
course.
rather
Well,
have
it's
the
twice
CS.
the price.
And it is a lot more expensive. Yeah, it's 60% more expensive.
I think the question is M2 Comp last gen or this.
If you want to drive stick, you only have one choice.
Yeah.
If you want rear-wheel drive, you only have one choice. Styling-wise, interior-wise, I prefer the last gen car.
The M2 gets those cool gauges, the half digital analog.
Yeah, I this one is, I would only upgrade if you need an all-season car. I bet this thing's a riot with snow tires on it.
Yeah,
in the
that'd be
snow.
so fun.
I bet it's a beast.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a good car.
This versus S3. You just drove that about a month ago.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
they're about the same money.
This is definitely faster, but I'd rather road trip the S3. This has an improvement in fuel economy versus the old one. But
Pretty huge, too. 32 highway.
Yeah. But I actually achieved 32 highway in the S3 going real fast.
Okay.
I thought the S3 really felt like the quality of the S5, but in a smaller package, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
I don't like really two-door coupes so much. I'd rather have the rear doors to access the back seat.
Yeah.
The S3 is certainly not as fast as this in a straight line. It's probably a half a second slower to 60, and probably a 3/4 of a second slower in the quarter mile. Having said that, it still feels like a quick car. The only reason I would want this over the S3 is the outright speed. Wanting a 2-door versus a 4-door, or really caring that the all-wheel drive system is rear biased versus front biased. I mean, that's still an MQB platform car. But mainly, if I didn't care about the limits of performance and I wanted probably a better daily driver road tripper, I'd want the Audi, because I liked using the stuff a little better. If I wanted to go fast, I'd probably want this.
Cool.
So that's the M240i. We really look forward to the new M2. It'll probably be very rowdy. Thank you for joining us today on the Hill, and we'll see you later.
And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.